Hi, so my name is Katherine Dailey, and I'm here with the Daily Princetonian with Princeton Mayor Mark Freda, who was elected this past November and began his 4-year term on January 4th. Mayor Freda, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the invite. Happy to reach out and talk to people, and hopefully I have some good answers to your questions.
Yeah, we're really excited. So I'll jump right into the questions. So what has been the process of campaigning and taking office during a pandemic been like?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's been very different than what normally would happen. And back when there were two Princetons, I was on the Princeton Borough Council for 13 years, a long time ago, and the campaigning was very different this time. And mainly this was mainly social media. I did and you can tell part of the audience I was getting by some of the different social media platforms I used. I did a lot of Facebook Live sessions, like I did those every other week for months, but I did a lot on Instagram and Twitter also. And it just, you couldn't meet with people, at least groups of people, and depending when. I mean, I had actually declared back in December of 2019 that I was running in 2020. So, I spent a lot of time campaigning. So for the first few months, I could still get out and meet with people, but, come late March, that really came to a screeching halt. So, it's been all social media, and worked out pretty well, actually.
And what new perspectives do you hope to bring to this position from your prior experience?
Yeah, well, so, a couple things. Having the experience before, but also I've lived here all my life. So there's, I guess you could call it institutional knowledge that I have that maybe not all members of the current governing body may have. Not all of them have been here their entire lives, but a number of them have been here a pretty long time. So maybe I have some perspective. I think though that others may not have, just having been here for so long. And you get an idea too, though, because I was 13 years on the borough council. So you try a lot of different. Over 13 years, you see a lot of different ways to try to address things. So we'll have a discussion later this year about, why don't we try blah blah blah? And I'm like, well, okay, we tried that. Not necessarily that it's going to be an exact fit, but hey, we tried it. And here's what happened before. So anyway, I'm just hoping the prior experience will be helpful at times. It should be.
So now that you've taken office, what will be your first priorities as mayor?
So my first priority, we had a reorganizational meeting on January 4th, which is you appoint members to there's boards, committees, commissions. You do that. All the council assignments are officially made. So there's a number of council committees. There's a number of other committees dealing with all sorts of topics. So you get all that organized. So that was really like the first thing we had to get in place. And to be quite honest, this week, I had an idea what I was getting into when I decided to run for mayor. But now that I'm actually the mayor, now stuff's coming at me right and left, full speed. So I've been spending this first week and probably part of the second week just finding out how to balance my schedule between the mayor's responsibilities, my responsibilities with my full-time job. I belong to a number of boards on nonprofits here in town, and I do have a family. So, finding a way to balance all of that is really the first thing I've got to do, because anything I want to achieve, if I don't have that proper balance so I can pay attention to everything in enough detail, then I'm really not going to achieve anything. So I've quickly found out that's the thing I got to do. I got to get that balance in place instead of just spending an incredible amount of time every day answering emails and phone calls.
So, although your platform covered a number of issues, from increasing transparency of local government and addressing rising property taxes, what was the one issue that for you was the most important or meaningful?
I really think being transparent and open is really critical. And locally it's important. It's just in government in general. I think a lot of people don't believe that government is always open and honest about what it's about to do or trying to do. And I think that's really important. You want people to feel content that they do know what the local government at least is trying to do. Not that we're always going to agree, right? I mean, people understand they're not always going to agree with what their local government's going to do, but at least if they know there's a process and there's an opportunity to be in the process and there's an opportunity that they're actually listened to and their thoughts and suggestions are seriously considered, then it makes it easier to say, okay, get it on this one, we didn't all agree, but maybe on 3 others we did. And I know from my prior experience, I would run into any number of people. Like one of my biggest jokes with my wife and kids was, I'm going to McCaffrey's, I'll be back in a couple hours, even though I'm only picking up 5 or 6 things, because you run into so many local people and they all want to stop you and ask you about things. But a constant comment I would get from people was that, hey, Mark, I know we disagreed on whatever the topic was, but I like the fact that you listened to me. I know you seriously considered what I had to say. And I appreciate the fact that you put my opinion forth so others would hear it. And, at least, the outcome was what the outcome was. So anyway, that's a long way to say you just have to be serious about being open and transparent. And you just have to help people's opinions come to light and make sure other people in the governing body know what people are thinking and that they have that knowledge before they make a final decision.
So what can Princeton University students expect to see change or not change in campus-town relations?
Well, look, I think, I know from my point of view, and I've already reached out to a number of university officials just to say hello and say, here's who I am. A lot of the university officials have changed from my prior time on the governing body. So I just think we need to, the town and the university just need to treat each other as equals and be open and honest with each other and try to talk to each other about whatever topic might impact the other early enough in the process so that the other has an opportunity to really say, have you thought about this? I think what happens sometimes is people, get so far down the road on an idea or a topic or an action they hope to take that by the time they reach out to others, it's almost impossible to change direction. So at that point, it's like, well, why are you even asking me my opinion when you really are almost virtually incapable of changing anything that you already plan to do? So I'd like to encourage on both sides that we make sure we talk to each other early enough. And then, look, whatever's happened in the past has happened. Like, you can't worry about that. All we can worry about is the future. And I want the relationship between the university and the town to go as smoothly as possible. There's a lot of things we do that impact each other. There's a lot of things we do that are actually in the best interest of each other. And when one of us have an interest that's different than the others, let's just talk about it and make sure we understand why and come to an agreement on how we're going to handle that. So anyway, let's just talk and be open with each other, and I think we'll be fine.
Just as a quick follow-up on that, in your Planet Princeton interview, you said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the town needs to fine-tune its relationship with Princeton. So do you have any specific examples of improvements that you're hoping to make as mayor?
I think my message to the people I've talked to from the university has been pretty clear. Look, I'm an open-minded person. I'm happy to talk about anything, and I want to talk about anything and everything. And let's talk early. I mean, really, it's pretty much the answer I already gave. I think part of what's impacted the relationship between the town and the university over years is that we have a lot of people that are on one end or the other of a spectrum of, I love the university or I really don't like the university. And we just really need to understand somewhere in the middle is where we all got to be. We can't be, as on the national level, you can't be extremist about any topic because you're not going to get anywhere. You need to just have thoughtful, middle of the road process that allows you to talk to each other, express what's really going on, and then find a solution that works in everyone's best interest to the maximum ability possible.
So where do you see Princeton in 4 years?
Well, Princeton's going to be a very different place in 4 years. We have the court decision on the affordable housing program. So there's going to be a lot more housing in Princeton, and it's not just all affordable. I mean, the developments are a mixture of market rate and affordable, depending which development it is. But so first of all, we're going to have a lot more density. We don't know exactly the lasting impact of COVID on our economy yet, and that's going to be an impact that's going to take a few years to recover from. So, how many businesses are still going to be around over the next year or two? Hopefully, we don't lose too many. But we need to look at our downtown, and we need to decide how do we best support businesses that exist today and businesses that want to be here. So we have the whole process and how you get permits and how you get approvals and just how do you get your business started and what can we do to streamline those. Do we need more density downtown so there's more people to support more businesses? We probably need to be, we need to be more involved in, what's the mix of businesses in the downtown. You need a good mix because you want to continue to pull people into your downtown so they want to come here and shop and visit the town. If you become too top heavy in one area or another, that's really not a good thing long term. How do you maintain the downtown? So anyway, the downtown's a focus, and then on affordable housing, while we do have a lot of housing that we're about to add, there's the fourth round of affordable housing that we need to start thinking about now. So, we got into that court decision because the town really didn't do what it needed to do in the area of affordable housing for an extended period of time. And the town, as many towns did, they got sued. And then you have a judge sitting somewhere trying to decide what you really should do, as opposed to it having gone through a legislative process with the state or whatever. So, we need to pay attention to that. And then let's just, be honest. I mean, at the national level, we have seen that racism and bigotry and meanness and just, I got to watch what adjectives I use, but there's still deep feelings that people have that just aren't right. And we need to work hard, our town, every town, you start all these things locally, but we need to start to address that. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to negate those kind of thought processes, to educate people, and to help show why all of us need to work together. And it really doesn't matter what our backgrounds are or anything. I mean, we're all people, we're all human. So we should just treat each other the same, be respectful, and give everyone the same opportunity. So in areas of civil rights, human services, those are areas which, I think government a lot of times has kind of said, well, we'll put them off to the side, we'll give them a little bit of funding, but not too much. So, we have to look at what kind of funding do we have for these things? What kind of programs are we running? There's any number of things that 4 years from now, I think we'll be doing a lot more. And we'll probably look back and say, geez, what took us so long to figure that out? So anyway, hit on a number of things. So I hope that helps to answer that question a little bit.
What legacy do you think Mayor Liz Lempert has left for this position?
Well, first of all, just having been the first mayor of the consolidated town, just, that right there is huge. There's not really a successful track record or a lot of effort by a great number of towns in New Jersey to consolidate, which is kind of unfortunate because there's just so many communities. And it took a lot of effort. It took decades to get here. Consolidating the town came up for votes before and always failed. So anyway, I think her legacy is she was the first mayor of the combined town. And that's not easy once you combine to just run the government, because the initial few years, you're still trying to figure out all these different things. How does this and this, how do these things fit together? What did the one town versus the other town used to do? What's the better way to do it? Or, what experience do we gain from each? So I think just pulling all that together and leaving us with a successful town after that effort is very significant. So I'm sure she's very proud of that legacy, and she should be.
So I guess kind of a closing, more like fun question. What was a new hobby or skill that you've picked up since quarantine started?
Geez. I guess, like everybody, really figured out how to use Zoom really well. But, my full-time job is with the local first aid squad. So, I've been working the entire time during the pandemic. So it's not like I've had a lot of time to pick up any new fun things to do. just the opposite. So between my full-time job and then campaigning to become mayor, there wasn't, I wish I could say I learned some great new thing, but I guess maybe the only thing I'm going to hope for is I do actually have a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and I'm hoping when the weather breaks, I'm going to get my life under control, and I'm going to get out there and get some nice riding time to it's a nice way to relax. So that's my goal. That's my personal goal.
So is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Well, just to say to anybody that happens to see this or hear of this, I'm always open. People have ideas, suggestions, thoughts that they want to share with the governing body. They should feel free to contact me, and I'll do my best to get back to them in a timely manner and make sure whatever they have to say gets shared with the appropriate people. And then I'm very serious about the open and transparent process, and I'm very serious about the university and the town relationship being one of equal partners that work together for each other. And that's, to me, just the way it should be. But I appreciate this opportunity. So, thank you very much for reaching out and asking me to join this with you today.
Yeah, and thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to talk with us.
My pleasure.